Billy Dee Williams. Today on Pop Goes the Culture. Hi, I'm David Levin, and this is another inevitable episode of Pop Goes the Culture. Today, we've got the conclusion of my three-part conversation with Billy Dee Williams. We talk about some of his roles, including how he didn't end up playing Two-Face in Tim Burton's Batman. Plus, more about Star Wars, and he talks about being a painter. Plus, Williams wants to do more comedy.
I'm looking at this list of shows that you've done, and it's really amazing. If I play a little free association.
Oh God, you're gonna want me to remember things?
If you don't remember it, we
Okay.
move on. But if there's something that you can remember or recall, or something funny or something like that, you were on Martin.
I was on Martin, yeah.
Yeah. What was? Do you remember anything about that?
Well, whenever I'm asked to do any of those kind of shows, like sitcoms and stuff like that, I always look forward to it because I really want to practice that format. I mean, I really admire those people who can do that kind of those kind of shows, that particular format, because you got to move like that and be funny. And so it's an opportunity for me to play around with it and see where I can go with it.
Ever thought about doing a sitcom on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's scary to me, but
Why is it scary?
because I don't know.
You're in front of a live audience.
Because I don't know if I'm that funny. I mean, I think I'm funny, but I have my own sense of humor. I don't know if my sense of humor is going to work for any of those kind of shows.
You got to find a writer who shares your sensibility.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. That's the only way. I think I can do it. I think I can do it if I can work around my particular way of approaching humor.
What is do you know what your approach is? Or if you think too much about it,
I think I'm a bit off the wall. I'm a little crazy.
So do you see yourself potentially doing like a Leslie Nielsen take? In other words, you got this romantic leading.
Yeah, I could do that kind of stuff.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like where you're like sort of playing against your type.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. I like that idea. That's a good idea.
Do yourself a little sort of secret agent, like a Maxwell Smart for, but like kind of a clueless action hero type thing.
Yeah, I did a movie like that a long time ago. My son was one of the involved with it. It never did anything, but it was a disaster actually. But it was called Double O Soul, I think, Double O Soul or something like that. I forget. But it was sort of a parody on the 007. On James Bond, and there were a lot of funny little things about it, but it was done so cheaply that it just never. And I did it because my son was involved, so at the time.
You were in the original Batman with the Tim Burton.
Yeah, I was Harvey Dent, looking to play
Two-Face.
Two-Face.
And it just.
No, it didn't work out.
Sorry.
Yeah, just the way it goes. But that was the reason why I really wanted to do the character Harvey Dent, because I really wanted to do Two-Face. I mean, because that was a real stretch, and I thought that would be interesting to do. That would get me out of this whole kind of, good-looking romantic kind of guy. I mean, I'd still have the good-looking romantic kind of guy, but then I'd have the other thing.
Half your face.
Yeah.
That would have been a good role. Nothing like playing a dual character, with a dual role like that.
Oh, it's great. I mean that you're talking about an opportunity. That kid who did Darth Vader, who played the last movie. That was an opportunity, I think, to do that kind of a character, where you make that kind of transition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or transformation.
Absolutely. So you follow the other episodes. You go to the premieres of the other Star Wars.
I like to follow George, because George is always interesting. I'm always looking forward to seeing what he's going to come up with next. But I think in the last three, he got really more involved with the digital stuff. I think he probably lost some of the human stuff.
Yeah.
But that's bound to happen when you start playing around with all of that, computers and stuff like that.
But I loved your character in those movies. I mean, you were just so full of
Charm.
life, joy, charm. It was just like you just exploded off the screen in those movies. And really interesting because you and Harrison Ford's characters, you could see them being friends, and yet the love-hate relationship. And you were different enough, like you played it different enough than his. Like his was more cynical, and yours was more sort of, I don't know, how would you describe
bon
it?
vivant.
Bon vivant. You loved what you were
Yeah.
doing.
Well, listen, when I put that cape on, that was it for me. That cape did it for me. I never thought in life that I'd ever do a movie where I'd be wearing a cape.
Superhero.
That was fantastic. But it was so funny, when I used to, the kids would say, "You betrayed Han Solo." I used to pick my daughter up from school, and I'd have to sit there and try to explain to these kids that I didn't betray anybody, that I was in a very bad situation. And when you go up against Darth Vader, I'm sitting there like these little children, right? I'd get on the airplane, and the stewardess would say to me, "You betrayed Han Solo." And I'd say, whoa, wait a minute. Let me try to explain this whole situation, But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's hilarious. And then you got to come back and play him again in the next one. So did you know, by the way, that Darth Vader was Luke's father? Did anybody know? Did they reveal anything to you, or when you went to the movie you learned stuff?
No. There was nothing revealed ever. Because I think he couldn't. I mean, there was no way to. If he, everything was leaking all over the place anyway. So it was much better if he kept everything under wraps. Plus, I think he was sort of always working, changing,
Created a huge creative mind, right?
Oh, he's amazing.
And speaking of empires, I mean, his empire exponentially grew over the course of those three.
Oh, it's amazing.
How did things change from the second one to the third one, do you think, creatively or in terms of the way the movies were made?
Well, I remember, I think, what did he say to me one day? He said that, it's interesting that I think there was a money difference. I mean, he wasn't doing that much more than he did in Empire when he did Return of the Jedi, but it was costing him more at the time. And I think he was just, looking at his budget and trying to, do things. I mean, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons why he got so involved with developing ILM and, all of this technology.
Keep the costs down.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, ILM has turned into a force of nature all by itself, without beyond what that was going on.
Guys, it's amazing. I mean, if you can have one of those in a lifetime, that's it. That's an annuity for forever, beyond your lifetime. But he created something, and you have to admire the man because he maintained his independence, and that's tough to do.
Yeah. What's been the thing that you're most proud of over the years when you look back at the stuff that you've been doing?
Well, of course, Brian's song, but a lot of stage work I did too. I was very proud of. But certainly in film, Bingo Long was one of my favorite experiences. I love that movie. To me, that's a classic. Lady Sings the Blues, working with Berry Gordy.
What was that like? What was Barry like?
Well, Barry and I always had a very good relationship, and I'm quite grateful to him, and I will always be grateful to him. But most when I go to work with, I have a lot of fun. I don't, I'm not one of those people who. Some of the, I hear about these ridiculous actors. I guess I've worked with some, but I don't. I go to work, I don't even notice what the problems are. I just try to do my best and make my money and go home.
You're a professional.
Well, I try to be.
Scrubs. How did you like doing Scrubs? That was more recent, wasn't it?
Yeah, they asked me to come on the show, and because I think one of the guys, he's a big fan of mine, one of the actors, and so to be myself, and but I decided to kind of I haven't seen it, but I decided to dress up in a certain way, and I decided to take a cane, use a cane, to be this sort of bon vivant, sort of an exaggeration of myself. That's what I was trying for. And I don't know if it worked or what, but
is it fun to play yourself?
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, I was going to see. I'm also a painter, and I started out as a painter, and I've been working on this character, and it's an ongoing character. I had one character I was working on, Mr. Greed, an ongoing Mr. Greed kind of serial. But I decided to do a whole series of paintings about a guy who's a bon vivant kind of guy who walks through life with a cane. He's very elegant and so forth. And that's how I see myself anyway, most of the time. At the same time, I see myself as a totally ridiculous human being, which is good,
Keeps you grounded.
Yeah, it keeps you grounded. But when I did the Scrubs, that's what was going on in my head at the time, and I was doing these paintings at that time about this guy. In fact, I just got through exhibiting the paintings down in Charleston, South Carolina.
So what kind of stuff are you doing? What kind of painting?
Well, I call the work abstract reality, and what I mean by that, as real as things are, they're as abstract. That is, I paint what's representational, which is obvious to the eye, but I also add a lot of abstract situations into the painting so that it's a kind of a device. It's a way of bringing the spectator into the moment, because I think to me, I think nuance really is what tells a story. Broad strokes, it's good, but it's how you bring people into a situation. So, but I work with acrylic and oils, but I'm starting to incorporate photographic images and also kind of a bas-relief thing, which I want to do in a much bigger museum-sized pieces.
Wow. How long have you been doing this?
Well, I have a painting in the National Portrait Gallery at the Smithsonian, and I have a painting at the Kansas City Jazz Museum, the Schoenberg in New York. I've been doing it all my life since I was a little boy, but I won major awards. I went to a school called the National Academy of Design for the Fine Arts, where I spent 2 years on the scholarship painting after I left music and art high school in New York.
That's impressive.
So, but I started show business too. I started when I was 6.5 years old on Broadway.
What were you doing?
I did a Broadway musical by Kurt Weill, and his wife Lotte Lenya was in it at the time, called The Firebrand of Florence.
Wow.
You didn't have that in you don't have that in your notes?
You know.
Your research is...
They're just going downhill. I'm just going to have to fire them all and start from scratch. I'll tell you a real quick funny story. I was going through the internet. I was researching. We had interviewed Ernest Borgnine for our last season, and we're going through the internet. I'm like, holy cow! I called one of my co-producers over. I said, "Do you see this? Ernest Borgnine was in a series in the 1950s based on Citizen Kane. There were 13 episodes. It only aired once. It was never seen again." Ernest Borgnine played Citizen Kane for 13 episodes.
On a TV series?
On a TV series.
I didn't even know Citizen Kane was was a series.
That was the thing, and I pride myself on my knowledge.
That's
Like,
interesting.
This is unbelievable. So I brought my research guy, who's fantastic, into the room, and I said, "We interviewed Ernest Borgnine. We never asked him about this." He's like, "I never heard about this before."
Wow, that would have been interesting.
He comes back half an hour later. He says, "Everything on that website is a hoax. Everything on the website was a lie. It had Ernest Borgnine as Citizen Kane. It had all these fictional TV shows and movies.
So it never happened?
Never happened." How hilarious is that?
That's funny. Why?
It was just somebody did it as a goof, and they made it very convincing. They wrote this whole thing up, and how how it was produced by, Mankiewicz, and how Orson Welles was going to sue them, and like all this other stuff. And it was hilarious. It was just hilarious.
Yeah, because I never heard of anything like that, and I'm sure everybody would have heard about
Never happened. But how cool is that? So.
it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, one day I want to do a movie like that where we just like do a documentary where it's all phony. You know?
Well, I guess that should be very interesting.
See if people buy it. What have we missed? Have we missed anything?
Oh, lots of things.
What do you got?
I don't know.
What should we talk about?
I don't know.
Do you remember your
It's
first?
all a hoax.
Do you remember your first? Yeah. Tell me a lie. You were originally up for Primary Colors, weren't you?
Well,
you were supposed to be in Saturday Night Fever, weren't you?
No. I did a television series called Moses, and I played Moses.
You played Pharaoh. And the Pharaoh.
And the Pharaoh, yes. I played both characters.
It was a sitcom.
No, it was a very serious piece.
It would be funny though, a sitcom with Moses and the Pharaoh. Every week there's another plague. Moses, get out of here! Imagine Joe Flynn as the Pharaoh. From remember Joe Flynn from he played the captain on McHale's Navy. Who wore those funny glasses.
Oh yeah.
Somebody like that. Okay. Do you remember your first movie?
Yeah, my first movie was with Paul Muni.
Really?
Yeah, the Last Angry Man. I played the Galoot. And that was his last, it was my first movie and his last movie. And there, again, I got the role without reading for the character. The Danny Mann, who directed it, he just sat me down in a conference room, and we just had a long conversation, and he said, I want you to play Josh Quincy. You know, that's the way to do it.
I want to see you as Moses, though. I can't get that out of my head now.
I would love to do Moses. You know,
Passover's coming over. You can come to my Seder, and you can play Moses at our Seder.
yeah, I'm sure that would really go over very well.
My family would love it.
Anyway.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for coming in. It
Well,
was really a pleasure.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
These days, you can see Billy Dee Williams' art in galleries around the country. He's also reprised the role of Lando Calrissian in the Lego Movie and in some Star Wars-related stuff. That is all we have time for today. I'm David Levin. You can follow Pop Goes the Culture on Twitter at PopGoCulture, Facebook, or email me at popgoestheculturetv@gmail.com. And please don't forget to subscribe. I'm here with a new episode every Monday. Thanks for watching. Ouch! Ouch!